Okay, we live. Hey guys, it's Nurse Adrian. I said I was going live, and I thought, well, I goofed. It's actually 3:30, so welcome to my live. I'm going to do a quick live right now, but what I want you to do is hang out or come back at 3:30, whatever you want to do. There's going to be a group of us. I thought we were going on at 3. It turns out it's 3:30. That's okay. That's my bad. And I thought, well, let me just go ahead and let's go live right now, and we can have a chat. Um, I haven't made videos in a while. Sorry. Just did my thumbnail. Doing YouTube is a whole thing for those of you who do it. Um, so I wanted to talk about nurses always being learners. We're constantly learning. We never stop learning. I just realized I don't even have my lights set up, like, because I had taken everything down for a cleanup project in my office, which still hasn't really happened. So hopefully it's not too bad of lighting. And I just wanted to jump on here, say hi to everybody. But yeah, just let's talk about what's going on, right? Like, what, as nurses, are we always learning, right? We are. And is that good for our profession? Absolutely. Is that good for us? 100%. We're life learners as nurses. And I want to really speak to new nurses because I've been able to be exposed. Sorry, you guys, I got to get something here. I got to lift my mic up. Sorry, because, wasn't really ready to do this, but sometimes you just got to be ready to get ready, right? Just got to do it however you can do it. I've been able to be exposed to a lot of new nurses and a lot of discussions about new nurses and nurses, not staying in the bedside profession, leaving, attrition rates, and ways that, everybody's trying to deal with it or not. Not everybody is. So sorry about that, you guys. Sorry for the background noise or other weird noises. I just had to take this massive exam. It was so hard. Um, only because, again, we are always learning. There's never a point where we say, hey, I know this, and so I never have to study it again. I had to go back and learn something that I didn't know all that well, just to be honest. I was a cardiac nurse for many years. So, I really was into the pathophys. I was really into the disease processes. But there were some parts that I didn't always pay I don't want to say pay attention to, but I was not an expert at. So now I really feel like I've reached an expert level as a result of a massive amount of studying and having to do this exam and pass it, which I did today with 98%, which was awesome. Of course, I would have liked to have had 100, but whatever, that's okay. But just for new nurses coming in, it's just really important to figure out, like, why do you want to become a nurse? I don't want to discourage anybody, and I don't think any of us who are, senior nurses or seasoned nurses, whatever you might want to call us, are here to discourage anyone from becoming an RN or an LPN or going into healthcare. But you got to think about, why are you doing it? Are you doing it because you want the money? You want to travel? You think this is so exciting to be a travel nurse? Those are not the reasons to go into nursing. Those are just not the reasons to take people's lives in your hands. One of the things that I have not heard a lot of from some of the newer nurses I've been around has been patient care. I've heard them talk a lot about their own process, their own journey. And of course, when you come out of nursing school, you just feel like you got, catapulted into the world. You've gone through kind of this 2 or 4 year boot camp environment. You've worked really hard. You should be proud of yourself if you've passed the state licensing board, whatever state you're in. You're about to embark on your career. But you got to be thinking about being an expert nurse, not about, hey, where am I going to go travel to? What am I going to go buy? You got to be thinking about, how will I be taking care of patients? What kind of environment am I going to be working in? What is this, a safe environment? Are they a supportive environment? Because most people are going to become a staff nurse doing something usually in acute care, which is a hospital environment. So it's really important to put the patients in the forefront of your mind, because when you do that, I guarantee you, you're going to have a better career. You will have a more satisfying career, because chasing travel assignments, travel rates, I don't know. I mean, I just think it's a different discussion. I think people should think about what are you doing with your patients? What is your level of expertise? Not, hey, I want to go run and be an ICU nurse, OR nurse, recovery room, ER, this, that, right? Am I the right fit? Do I have the right personality? There's a personality, believe it or not, to almost every type of nursing and unit, especially in a hospital environment. You're going to find out real fast. Try and go into L&D if you don't have that personality for labor and delivery or ICU. Or anywhere really. And it's not about competency, it's about just the personality type of what kind of person. You've got those ICU nurses are going to be those OCD nurses, and sometimes people move into ICU and they realize, hey, I'm not that kind of OCD person. I'm not super into like all the details of everything. So maybe this isn't the right fit. That's okay. So find what your stride is, but be focused on the patient. You definitely have to focus on your needs and what you need to be doing in your self-care. I'm not saying don't do that. Don't misread what I am saying or misunderstand what I'm saying. Sorry. Um, the most important thing is that you think about, how can I be the best nurse? How will I be the best nurse possible? So you guys, I didn't realize it was so nice out today. I got to turn the light on. Hold on 1 minute. Sorry. Got like, technical things. I don't have my cameras up on my desk. I have these cute little, or not cameras, lights. So I usually don't have to have an overhead light on because I hate having the overhead light on, but whatever. We're going to do overhead light. So that's the way it is. So, think about, do you want to be the nurse that kind of skates by, you know, doesn't like pathophys, doesn't like farm? I always am baffled by this when I see this on some of the boards. I really don't like patho. I hate farm. Where can I be an NP, nurse practitioner, online, right? Is that the person you want taking care of the person you care about the most? Whether it's your family, your parents, husband, wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, your kids. So think about, who do you want taking care of the person who you care about the most? Do you want to have, nobody's going to know your grades. Nobody's going to know where you went to school, right? Nobody's going to know the difference between one nurse or the other as far as real competency until it's too late, which we're going to be talking about a little bit at 3:30. So check back in if you please come back in if you haven't subscribe. Check back in. I think it's going to be Nurse Scott, Bridget MP, and Mr. Midwife and I are going to be talking about a case in Everett, Washington, at a Providence hospital. A young mother, uh, 41, who passed away waiting in the ER. Now, whether that's a systemic issue, a negligent issue, I can guarantee you, if this patient made it through triage, that triage nurse is going to be in court. So again, practice defensively as a nurse, practice as if you will be before the Board of Registered Nursing. That's how I was trained. That's how I've always practiced as a nurse. And when I felt or had this sense that I wasn't going to be able to do that anymore, I left bedside. I got out. That, plain and simple. I went and did something else. So sorry, you guys, I'm getting some text messages here. So yeah, so be the nurse that you would want your loved one to be taken care of by, right? And that's why I say nurses are always learning. I don't know if this thumbnail is going to pop up or not, but nurses are constantly learning. We are always advancing our education. We're circling back around. What's the new evidence-based practice? Oh, what are the new medications? I've just returned to bedside after a hiatus, and I've got to come back up to speed with pharmacology. What are the medications being used? What are the most recent, treatments? And also there's different specialties at the hospital, different service lines. We call them, for those that aren't in nursing, service lines are, like cardiology, like does the hospital have a cath lab? Do they do open hearts? Are they doing neurological procedures? Do they have a big orthopedic unit, psych unit, whatever it might be, pediatric ICU? You can drill down even deeper into service lines. You could have pediatric cardiothoracic surgery as a service line. So every hospital has a different service line, and you may not be exposed to everything, of course, when you are working in a facility, because it really depends on where you're working and what their service lines are. What is their area of expertise or areas? So, it's really important to understand that, because we owe that to our patients, we owe that to the public. And if you haven't figured it out by now, we will end up in court. There's been more high profile court cases against nurses, involving nurses. Some of them have ended well. Either way, they're going to cost you money. A criminal defense lawyer will not be covered by any insurance you have for your license. So please remember that. If you've got, and definitely by all means, get yourself some liability insurance for your practice. That will protect you, and usually that will be used. You'll be able to use that if you have charges brought, against you to your board of nursing for your state. And remember, if you're in a compact and you have a compact license, you have to know the Nurse Practice Act for each state. That is the expectation. So if you've got, your license is based in one state, you should definitely know that license, that state's Nurse Practice Act, what those laws are. But any state that you are working in, do not be fooled. And if you are in California and you're making that good money, trust and believe, you better know the Nurse Practice Act. The Nurse Practice Act for California, I think I have a copy, or maybe I don't have it handy. It is actually a book that gets published. If you work in California, do yourself a favor, buy the book, order the book or download it online, whatever you need to do, get a copy of that. You want to have that Nurse Practice Act and familiarize yourself with it. It's significant. It's a chunk of writing. It's a lot of pages. You also need to familiarize yourself with state licensing laws for the hospital or facility you work in. You need to know in California, and really any state, what are the licensing laws and guidelines, because that may also have information, like in California, it does, where you could be breaking a law for the licensure of the facility you work in, depending on the type of facility, not even be aware of it. It's not part of the Nurse Practice Act. If there's a case that patient or family brings against a hospital or facility or you, based on the violation of a licensing law for a facility, I guarantee you will be, the Board of Registered Nursing or your LPN board, whatever it might be, will be notified, because you will be brought up and they will be investigating you in turn. So you have to adhere, like in California. Again, I'm going to talk about California because I'm very familiar with California. I helped a lot of nurses in California with the Board of Registered Nursing. I did a lot of regulatory work in California, and if you guys know some of my history, you'll know that. If you follow me on TikTok early on, 2019, 2020, 2021, you'll know all the work I did in regulatory. But I've been doing regulatory work prior to becoming an RN for RNs and for healthcare facilities, long-term care and acute care. So I've been doing this kind of work, or advocacy, I should say. It's 2023. So at least 25 years I have been doing this work. So I'm very well versed in California on acute care licensing and long-term care licensing. And again, there's licensing for everything in California. If you work at a group home, there's licensing. Whatever kind of setting, it could be a jail setting. You've got to make sure that you are familiarizing yourself. If you're, especially, if you're going there, you're making money, right? You're making great money. Instead of picking up that extra shift, pick up a book, open up the computer, get on Title 22, get on the website for California or the state, whatever state you're in, get online and find out what are those regulations that are governing your license, your scope of practice, and the license of the facility you work in. Or it also can be specific to patients, right? You've got elder care laws, you've got all kinds of laws that intersect in healthcare that protect different groups of populations. And those laws can be easily, I just want to say easily violated, naively by people that they don't know that they're actually violating those laws. So it is really important that, hey, what's up? Hey, Dr. J, thank you for tuning in. Yeah, so please understand. And if you're going to go open, you guys follow Dr. J, subscribe to her. She's got great videos. She's on TikTok, Instagram. And she also is somebody who is really, focuses on excellence in the clinical setting. Because if you're going to go open a med spa, you're going to go open, I want to do an IV clinic, I'm going to go do aesthetics, right? Well, do you know facial anatomy? Do you know all the laws and liability you're getting yourself into? Are you protecting your license? Are you protecting your patients? When we protect our patients and we think about our patients, our clients first, I guarantee you it becomes so much more easy to protect our license, because if I'm aware of what I need to do for my patient, then I know what I need to do for me, right? But when I'm not thinking about what's going on with my patient and am I protecting them, it's very easy to rationalize other types of behaviors or care, or get yourself into a situation where you think, well, nobody's really going to know if I do this, or this doctor's telling me to do this. And I really want to go work with this doctor because they're going to start a med spa. If you're in California, you've got to have a doctor be part of the owner of a med spa. I mean, people argue. I'm not going to fight with people over this issue, but you're going to have to work with a doctor and very closely. And they're going to get 51% of your profit. So, people say, oh, I really want to work with that doctor. So I don't want to, I don't want to get them mad, or I don't want to irritate them or question them. No, you do. You have to protect your license, because when you go look at the statistics for, again, let's just use California as an example. How many doctors lose their license or go up on discipline to the medical board in California versus nurses? The numbers are massively, massively different. And you don't have due process when you're dealing with the types of administrative law that typically are what the Board of Registered Nursings fall in. You don't have what's called discovery. So even if you get a lawyer, you could have, and I used to hire lawyers to teach classes to the members I worked with, the union members I worked with. They would tell me all the time, we don't have discovery. So we can practice for 30, 40 years. We still don't have a clue what happened with all the other cases because there's no public record of it. Everything is behind the veil of the Board of Registered Nursing. And guess what? Nobody is overseeing them. Nobody. They report directly, usually to the governor's office. In California, they do. There's no oversight. There's no due process. You don't have any way to get, do really an appeal, a legitimate appeal. So again, going live again, I'm going to jump off in about 5 minutes. I'm going to get back on at 3:30. So if you're seeing this, jump on at 3:30. We're going to be talking about this case of this 41-year-old woman who passed away, died in an ER waiting room, mom of 3. But I had told people I was going live at 3 on my TikTok, so I decided to go live. So please protect your license. This is just, it's not, rocket science. We have lives. People's lives are in our hands, and it could be something so minute. It could be, are we doing the proper education for that patient? Are we documenting it? Make sure you document everything that you do. Put it in a nurse's note. Check off charting doesn't help you as a nurse. Check off charting will never protect your license. It's one of the worst things for your license for liability, because, and if you don't put a narrative note, and you can use smart phrases in Epic and Cerner and other EHRs and create templates, and that's fine. But you need to be modifying those templates. Like if they're for discharge or admission or transfer, and you want to make some smart phrase, that's great. Do that. But make sure that you're modifying that and putting some subjective data, because everything you put in, and remember, everything that you do on a computer in your job is traceable. So whether it's sticky notes in Epic, whether it's messaging in Epic, things that you don't think are really in the chart, they may not be in that patient's chart, but they are discoverable, and they can be subpoenaed in a court of law. So as these now electronic health records have gone on, and they're very well known, the lawyers are getting much smarter. I will tell you, in the early days of some of these electronic health records, maybe 15 years ago, 10 years ago, the lawyers, the the not the criminal defense, prosecuting lawyers, people, that even the board of registered nursing, even inspectors for the state licensing facilities, they weren't that savvy because they didn't know, they're not using these EHRs, right? They're using their own system. And there's a ton of different EHRs. Doctors' offices have lots of them. So if you get outside of a hospital environment, there's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of different types of EMRs or EHRs, whatever you want to call them, electronic health record, electronic medical record. Nobody knows all of them. So, I myself sat with state inspectors because I was an informaticist. They didn't know where to tell me to look. So I would just sit there and say, hey, I'm going to just wait and see what they tell me they want to see. And if they don't know where something is or what it's called in the EHR we were using, I didn't have to divulge that. But they're getting smarter about that. They know now where to ask to look, what to ask for as far as records, because a lot of things can be hidden, right? You've got notes within each medication you can write. They wouldn't always request that. They would just say, give me the nursing notes, give me the admission slip, but they wouldn't ask for all these other pieces of information that had different titles within the EMR. So we didn't have to really disclose that. It was just, if you don't know what it is, then that's not our problem. You're the state licensing inspector. That's on you. And of course, they don't know that stuff. So they've gotten very smart. They understand now what to ask for in the totality of the record. And so do the lawyers, so do the prosecutors. So make sure that you're protecting your license, you guys, and go into nursing for the right reason. Go in and do it for you, but always know you've got to be there for the patients and you've got to have clinical excellence. Do not ever slack on your clinical excellence. That's that's the thing that's going to make the difference in the care of somebody, especially somebody who might be chronically ill, seeing, they're in a hospital quite often, they're seeing a lot of providers. We are a patient advocate. That is our responsibility, to be a patient advocate. And I know a lot of you are out there being amazing patient advocates and you're doing an amazing job. And yes, you will get burned out. You may get burned out. Don't work all those overtime shifts. Take care of yourself. Take time off, go travel, do what you need to do, take care of your body, your health, everything. But make sure when you're present in your role as an RN or as an LPN, whatever it might be in healthcare, that you are fully present and there, right? And presence, there's a saying about presencing ourselves. It's really important. Now that I'm back at bedside, I'm really incorporating that, because it's like, hey, whatever happened out before I walk in that door is irrelevant. I need to presence myself when I'm in my car, or even before I leave out the door of my house. Okay, now I'm getting into that role and I'm going to be showing up as the best nurse I can possibly be. I'm going to be a mentor. I'm going to be compassionate. I'm going to be empathetic, patient. I'm going to be seeking and searching for knowledge and asking questions. I'm going to be a patient advocate. Whatever that list looks like for you, make that list for yourself and really presence yourself as you enter into your workday. Whether it's home health, you're going to go to somebody's home, whether it's hospice, whatever kind of environment you're working in. And there's so many things we can do as RNs, as LPNs. Just diversify and really keep getting your skills, expand those skills. I'm going to jump off, you guys. We're going to be back on live, so come back in 6 minutes and I'll see you then. Thanks for tuning in. If you're not catching this live, catch up. Make sure you subscribe. The live following this live will be posted under the lives. I might also post it as a video. I know some people do that. But thanks so much. If you have questions, if there's topics you want me to cover, or that you want the team, the crew to talk about, let us know and we'll cover those. If you've got some really interesting stories in the news that you've heard about regarding nurses, patients, patient care, put a link, shoot me a link or something in the comments. And that's something that we can cover in the future. Thanks so much, you guys. Take care.